Like I remember once again talking to Tony before I left, I was just like, it just gives me, it's like this self-crippling self-doubt every step of the way, basically. So it ended up giving me more anxiety than enjoyment at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not worth it, like it's just way too much on me and my mental health. Whereas I could just like draw whatever I want.
The Boom Show is produced by the team at Burg CrossFit. So please don't sue us. All of the recordings and materials in this podcast are for educational purposes only and should not be considered as a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Let's just get smarter and sweat together. Cool? All right, let's go.
Boop, boop, beep, beep, bop, beep, bop, beep, bop, beep, bop, bop, beep, bop. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Boom Show. I'm on, as you can hear, with two very fired up piston vinegar ladies. Coach Ames Fit.
What's up?
Kita. Coach
Yo,
Nicky.
yo.
So today we're going to be going over, Amy and I are going to be pretty much diving into all of Nikki's dirt.
Get on my dirt.
Find out all about Nikki, everything about Coach Nikki, why she is here, what she's been doing, who she is, how she is, what she is.
What she is.
and everything in between. So starting off, we like I said, Amy's here. She's gonna be asking some questions, probing, poking the bear, and I will be as well, trying to figure out what we've got in store for you.
I don't know. Having me and Amy on the same podcast is dangerous.
And we might. I'm going to try to keep the tangents at minimum, but we'll see if I can tame these two.
I don't know if Tony
should we have a safe word whenever things get out of control?
Just say Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan. We got to move on. All right. Without further ado, let's have Nikki kind of give us your full name, your age, and where you're from. Just go over. Just start there.
Like literally my full name.
Yeah, your full name.
Nicole Elise Damon, which is funny because most people would assume that it would just be like EL, like YSC. Apparently, my mom thought she was clever, and actually, it looks like Alice, ALYCE. But it's pronounced Elise.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, because I was actually named after my grandma Alice and my grandpa Nick. I'm 29, just on that edge. I'm almost there. 30. I'm almost there.
Girl, I've been there for 5 years. Let's go.
It's right. I like giving Ryan shit because our birthdays are 4 days apart, but that still makes me the youngest coach here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan's four days older than me.
Oh, really? When's your birthday?
Yeah. December 15th. His is the 11th. I made sure to make an announcement on his birthday going over the boards. I was like, today's Ryan's birthday, and thanks to him, I am the youngest coach here. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. Guys, Missouri, not Kansas. Get that one all the time, too.
Oh, God.
All the time.
Kansas City, Kansas.
Jeez. What? Tell everybody what you do here at Burg.
What
your
I
position? Yeah.
Well, I am head of admin. I deal with all the memberships, anything coming in, questions, inquiries, new leads that come in. I'll call and talk to them, bring them in, and then I'm also a head coach. Full-time, so I coach multiple hours here, and I'm also the lead yoga instructor as well. So I run the yoga program and have 3 classes a week for the time being. Hopefully some more in the near future.
Yeah.
Namaste inside.
Well, yeah. Now we have to. Namaste inside.
Currently, if you guys haven't been doing it, 4:45, she's doing yoga on all the Zoom calls. They're all pre-recorded, or they're all recorded, so you can watch them later. But
also, for all those obsessed committed club folks out there, you can now log into yoga.
Yeah. Monday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Monday through Friday, we're doing 3-minute sessions. 30-minute sessions from 4:45 to 5:15. They are recorded, and we do post all that onto YouTube as well.
Got it.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So diving back into more about you, how long till you moved to Florida? What would give us your life journey?
Well, I mean, I'm basically Floridian. We moved here when I was like 3 or 4. So I grew up in Florida. Like I grew up over in Largo, which is like 20 minutes from here. And been here since. I moved to St. Pete, I want to say like 7 or 8 years ago now. And that's like right after I moved to St. Pete. It's actually when I got into CrossFit because a good old Tony over here was my tattoo artist.
You guys have, okay, that's what I was going to say. Because like, I've always wondered, because there's several of you guys that have been around since the beginning of time. And I've always wondered, I've always wondered like how each person met you, Tony.
Everyone.
Right. And like where that all came from. Because there's a lot of you. There's like Dan, Dax, you.
Jamal.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, all of them. Well, it's crazy because he was it still Electric Voodoo at that time when you were there?
Yeah.
And then you moved over to Amulet.
There was like a little bounce around there because tattoo artists that own shops don't really have any sense.
No,
typically.
They don't.
So there was a lot of weird stuff going on. So we were bouncing me and my
well, it was Chelsea.
cohort. Yeah, it was me and Chelsea who now owns Amulet.
I thought Dean owns it now.
There's like a little team now,
Oh,
but basically I was bouncing around with her because her and I had a little bit of the same kind of style and ideas, and but yeah, the each shop we went to was like turned into chaos very quickly. Like, I'm out.
It's very typical in the tattoo world. But yeah, I actually met Tony through tattooing. I actually met him through my ex-husband. So he was tattooing Justin first, and then I came around and like I would just like hang out at the shop. I was getting tattooed by Chelsea, and then started chatting up with Tony, and then he ended up moving to Tattoo Lula, which the owner of that is the guy that actually builds the rigs, like for OG, and built the rig for Sunbury,
and North, all the
gyms, all of them. So he started tattooing out of there, and then that's when I started getting tattooed by Tony, and he was originally going to CrossFit 9, and he was telling me about it, and at the time I was like working 3 jobs. I was working at a hair salon, Taco Bell. I was there for 8 years. We'll get into that.
Get it, boo.
So I was like working 3 jobs at the time. I was at Vito Michael's, Taco Bell, and the salon. And I remember I was getting tattooed by Tony. He's like, yeah, you should try it out. I was like, I don't know if I have the time. And I literally didn't have the time.
Yeah.
And then I ended up quitting the salon in Tampa. This is like right after I moved to St. Pete. I quit the salon because the owner sucked, and was looking for a salon over in St. Pete. And I went back into the tattoo shop, and I was talking to Tony. I was like, hey, like I finally have time. Like, I want to try this out. Like, when should I drop in? And he was like, well, funny story. I'm in the process of finding a building and opening up my own gym. And I remember even talking to you through that whole process. Like, you were looking at a couple different places, and I was like, all right.
Just so everybody knows how long ago was this?
7 years now.
Yeah, 7
Boom.
years.
Yeah, so
Crazy.
Because October will be the 7-year anniversary of Burg.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess like maybe 6.5 years ago, like that's when he started the process. And I remember talking to him throughout the process because we were like, me and another friend, Jake, would go in and get tattooed, and we were like joking about different names that you were coming up with. Like Strength Lab was one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had all sorts of weird names.
Strength Lab, Hybrid Strength. There was like all these different names that we were joking about. And I was like, oh, just put a white van out in front that says free candy. Like, see what happens. And so I remember that. And then like, it was just like how big was that room? It was really tiny.
It was
original.
It was like 1,500 square feet.
Yeah. It was just like
bigger than my house, but small. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
bigger than my house, but yeah.
Square warehouse.
Yeah, but it was like just concrete walls, concrete floor. I remember going in. There was very limited equipment. It was like 3 men's barbells. That's it. There's like 35-pound kettlebell and like a 53-pound kettlebell. And I remember my first workout, and I can't believe I went back. He's like, okay, well, I mean, we don't have that much yet. And then he ran me through a workout. It was just literally me and Tony in this room, bare room. And it was burpees and kettlebell swings. And
Perfect.
it was 35 pounds. And that 35 pounds felt like 100 pounds.
Oh my God.
What is this?
I don't remember
And
that.
at that point, like before, so before you got into CrossFit, I mean, obviously after that point you were hooked, I'm sure, but what was your background before that? Like, did you play sports? Were you ever in it? Like, what were you doing athletically?
Well, that's what was funny. So like, I don't want to say I was super athletic because I wasn't. I played softball in middle school, and then I started playing softball in high school, but I didn't like our coach at the time. So I stopped playing softball, and then I really just wasn't active at all. There was a point where like I would try and I couldn't find something that I could stick with, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had joined, like I remember I think Snap Fitness with some friends, and like I always felt so dumb going into those places, like looking at the machine. Everyone ends up doing the same thing, end up on the leg press, whatever. You're like, okay, leg press, and I'm out. That's all I need. Like I felt dumb trying to like figure out these machines. So like it never stuck. I even went through the fads of like trying those stupid beach body workouts. I'm embarrassed to say that. And I could just never stick with it. I would try and do it at home, be like, oh, this is going nowhere. I would try running. So then there was a long period of time where like I just wasn't super active, and then I started getting into yoga. And then that's when I came across Tony and met Tony, and he was telling me about CrossFit. And then I went in, and I'll never forget that like one workout. It's like still engraved into my memory. It was just me and Tony.
Sorry, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Because of trauma.
Yeah. Exactly.
People hold trauma differently. You either forget it or you live it every day of your life. Shove it down.
I can't even remember, like, I can't remember. I think it was just like an 8-minute AMRAP, and he had me doing like 10 and 10 kettlebell swings, 10 burpees. I don't know. I could be making this up by now. I don't know. But I remember it just being burpees and kettlebell swings, and I don't know what it was, but I was hooked after that. I went home, and I was like, can't wait to go back. And then I remember I would slowly go in, and like I couldn't go for more than like 2 days a week because I was so sore. I remember that first time I was able to hit like that third time a week. I was like, fuck yeah. I made it 3 times.
I'm sure a lot of members right now listening to this are like, dude, same.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like it was insane. Like I literally couldn't go for more than 2 days just because like my body was so wrecked. And then I remember making it a point. I was like, the day I can make it 5 days in a week is going to be like my proudest moment. And I remember like when it happened, it was like maybe 7 or 8 months in. I was like, I did it. I made it work.
Everybody's like, what's wrong with this girl over here? So
yeah, like, and
go ahead.
I was going to say, like, in all honesty, like I think I was actually just talking to Tony about this the other day too. It's weird. And I'm sure like none of my friends or family would have ever seen me end up in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just as shocked too. Like I thought I always would have been either doing hair or tattooing. And now I'm doing, well, I'm kind of still doing hair.
Nikita's salon is open right now.
Yeah, Nikita's salon is booming business right now with all these salons being shut down and barbers. I'm getting DMs all over the place for haircuts.
So
yeah, if you're in the local St. Pete area and you'd like someone to shave your head bald, please slide into Nikki's DMs on Instagram. She's great.
Talking about that, like when we knew each other, and you started at our little hole in the wall garage gym.
Yeah.
You obviously weren't coaching or anything. You said you got into yoga, but what were you doing before that? I knew you were working or had been working at Taco Bell.
Yeah, 8 years. That was my first job.
Yeah, and Nachos Bel Grande all day long.
Let me get a gordita, Mexican pizza. Let's go.
Chicken cheesy gordita crunch, man. That's my
Let's
jam.
go.
That's your jam.
That's my jam.
And some
Don't go to
cinnamon
Taco
twist.
Bell, people, okay, let's just put it. We're not advocating for Taco Bell.
No, we're not. Don't
Listen,
do it.
up,
Don't do it.
up here in Little Sunbury, that's all we have now.
All right, listen.
Cook at home.
Don't be. Yeah, cook at home. So you worked at Taco Bell. You said 8 years.
8 years. That
8
was my
years.
first job.
And then you were doing that and cutting hair, or was that?
So
what was the evolution here?
So Taco Bell first, and then I was at Taco Bell and Best Buy. I actually used to do car radio installations.
Oh,
Damn, girl, you've done it all, haven't you?
Super fun fact on Nikki.
Yeah.
She can't stand the sound of styrofoam.
No, it is awful.
It
Oh my God, we both have weird stuff that we don't like.
It's a lot of fun to chase her with styrofoam or just squeak it behind like a door
Oh
when she's walking through.
Styrofoam is literally the worst noise in the world. I hate
You mean like that
so
like
much.
crunchy crunch that you hear when it's like squeaking against each other?
Oh, the squeak. The squeak literally drives me crazy. So, fun story. And Jess Bailey can back me up on this because she came by to see me. I had just ordered an entryway table. And as I'm unpacking it, I was like, give me a couple minutes. I literally put in headphones, blasted music, and was singing along with it as I'm unpacking all these things.
Like
from the
styrofoam
box.
pieces.
Because that's how much I hate the sound of styrofoam. And Jess is like sitting on the couch laughing her ass off because I have the headphones blasting as loud as I possibly can. I'm literally singing on top of it
Oh my God.
just so I can't hear this styrofoam. My brothers mess with me every Christmas. When I was working at Best Buy, some of the guys that I worked with would like, because we would text each other all the time being like, hey, this is what's going on, blah, blah, blah. How do I fix it? And they would send me videos or sound bites of them squeaking styrofoam together because obviously all radios and speakers have styrofoam in them. And they would just send me clips of that.
Oh my God.
It's the worst thing in the world.
Coach Jeff found a YouTube video of 1 hour long styrofoam squeaking that we turned on for Nikki. So
I literally ran outside.
I'm not even shocked by that. I'm more shocked that there are someone out there who wasted an hour of their life recording styrofoam.
Really? Especially during this quarantine, are you really surprised that someone has done that?
A little bit.
Yeah.
All right, I want to go back. Okay, so Tony talked to me yesterday about my childhood and stuff, so we're going to talk about that now.
Oh no.
What kind of kid were you? Because I know, like, I want to get into some of the stuff about you that I think is unique personally, like you loving to travel and your how you spent. Did you spend a month? Where was it? In
5 weeks in Thailand.
Okay, yeah, we got to talk about that. So, how, as a child and like a young adult, where did this like yearning to travel come from? And like, talk about that for a while.
I literally have no idea because no one in my family is like a big traveler. Like everyone in my family's homebody. My dad would go to New York every now and then, but he hated traveling. Like I'm literally the only person in my family that travels. And I couldn't even tell you where that yearning came from. Like I was always interested in going to different places and intrigued, like looking up like different cultures. But I really don't know where it came from. I think so. I graduated high school, and then my best friend KK, who lives down in Fort Myers, she used to travel with her family all the time. And I remember I was sitting at the salon because I worked at the front desk at the time, and she had made like a Facebook post. It was like, planning a trip to Europe, like who wants to go with me? And I commented, I was like, me. And then she texted me and she's like, are you serious? I was like, absolutely, I'm serious. Like, let's do this. And then so we started looking into it. When we started booking, we booked a flight to, I think it was into Germany. And then we had a bunch of little flights, one that went into Paris and then one that went into Florence and then Florence back to Germany. And then from Germany, we flew back home. And that is like literally what kicked it off. Like we went, it was like the four of us. It was me, my boyfriend at the time, and then KK and her boyfriend. And we went and like, I just like fell in love with it. And then it was from there, we're like, we're doing this every year. We're doing one big trip out of the country every year. And then just from there doing like little inside the country stuff. I literally don't know. I like that trip, like kickstarted everything, and I fell in love with it.
It was like your first day of CrossFit, right?
Yeah, exactly. like I was sipping on the Kool-Aid. I was just like, all right, this is fucking great. Let's go. Like, and then
so like to say you like change is an understatement. I would just throwing that out there. Like you like everything, like difference, like everything different every day, traveling, different cultures, different experiences, like.
Which is so weird because like as a kid, I hated change. I still do. But I've learned to embrace it so much more. It's weird. Like I've gotten so comfortable with putting myself in uncomfortable positions, because like there's even video of me like as a kid, I hated being looked at, and I think I even talked to Tony about this the other day too. Like the fact that I even became a yoga instructor or a coach is beyond me, because talking in front of people is not my thing. Like there's a video of me all the time as a kid just saying, stop looking at me, and like my parents say it all the time, my brothers say it all the time. Just to joke with me, they'll be like, stop looking at me. I'm like, leave me alone.
So talk about the trip to, you said Bali you went to, is that where you said?
Thailand.
I don't know why I have Bali in my head.
Dude, man, I could have lived there. I almost didn't leave. So obviously when we started the gym in that little room that we're previously talking about, and we started growing, I remember bringing the idea to Tony. I was like, hey, like, and this is like that weird step, and I don't know how I threw myself into this position.
You got to be careful what ideas you throw at that guy, because you might F up and have to do them.
Well, I did.
So like, oh, what's that idea? Oh, I'm actually gonna make you do that. Oh, okay, cool. I thought
cool. Because in all honesty, at the time, like I remember the gym was growing, the rates started going up, and like that's totally fine. Like that's what a gym should do, especially like you're growing in space, you're starting to
more
offer
amenities, right?
Exactly. So I came to him with the idea, because I was like into yoga at the time. I was like, what if I got certified and I started teaching yoga for you? Like, can we do this trade? He's like, yeah, like we'll sit down and talk about it. And so I did. I went and got, but this certification was kind of like I don't want to say it was a bullshit certification, but it was like something that I could go teach at a LA Fitness. Like I wouldn't actually be able to teach yoga in an actual yoga studio, because you need your 200-hour RYT.
You never shared any of that information with me.
You didn't ask.
It's like, yeah, I got this cert. I'm like ready to go.
Dude, totally legit. Totally legit. Just don't get sued, man.
In comparison, you know, the L1 is a 2-day weekend course. I mean,
exactly. And technically, I was okay to teach. I just couldn't teach it in an actual yoga studio. Yeah. Like if I were to go to any of those like Globo gyms, they'd be like, sure, you're hired. So we started with that, and like we started with only like one time a month, I think we were doing, and then it turned into like once a week. Like the first couple months, it was only once a month.
Right.
And then just to kind of see the traction that we could get from it. And then it went to once a week we were doing it. I think it was like Mondays. And then we moved locations into a bigger location, just a couple buildings down. And then from there, I think I had just quit the tattoo shop. And so I had more time available. And then that's when Tony had talked about opening it up to 3 days a week. So when that happened,
glad someone remembers this. I don't know.
So like I had
worst
just quit
memory.
the tattoo. I know, right?
It's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, not much sticks.
No.
I have random things.
Penguins, Amy. You gave me that analogy.
What about that, penguins? Don't you?
Your brain.
I'll tell you. Oh, what about penguins, Nikki? Well, whenever Tony comes up here and graces me with his presence, it's a nonstop echo of my first name being yelled at out for probably 9 hours. And whenever we're about 4 hours into that journey, I look at him and I say, Tony, there's too many penguins on the iceberg right now. Okay. So
that's weird though, because
there's only so many penguins that'll fit on an iceberg. And at that moment, there's too many on the iceberg.
I don't know if that's the best analogy because there's a lot of penguins that get huddled together if you ever see them.
That's right.
Yeah, but have you ever, I mean, you work with him.
But anyways, we'll talk about penguins in a little bit. But yeah, so I had just quit the tattoo shop. He was talking about starting the 3 days a week. And I was like, okay, like I need to up my yoga game. And I had been looking at, I was like, I had so much extra time on my hands since I had quit the tattoo shop and I was still working at Vito's, which is a restaurant. And I was looking at yoga certifications abroad. I was like, well, may as well indulge myself in it because like when you do your 200 in the US, it's so spread apart because they try and do it based on like people's like Monday through Friday 9-to-5 job. So, and able to get it, it takes like 16 weeks because it's every other weekend that you're doing it. And I was like, well, screw it. Like, if I want to do this, I want to like indulge myself in it, put myself in this position to where like I'm not going to have any sort of outside distractions. Like, this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm doing, you know? And so I was looking at it, doing it abroad, and I was originally going to go to the Philippines. And luckily I didn't because like at that time, like their government was in like shambles and then it was like not a safe place to travel to. So then I came across the one in Thailand. I was like, oh, this is great. And the funny thing is though, is like at the time, I didn't know how many different types of certifications that there were because there's so many different branches of yoga. And when I did go, I remember my first day, I cried. I was like, what did I just get myself into?
Oh my God, like, you're all the way across the globe.
Yeah, like, oh man, the travel day getting there, it was like total of 30 hours just to get, yeah, it was awful. So I had to fly to JFK to Beijing. Beijing sucks, by the way. Beijing to Bangkok. And then from Bangkok, I had to take this small little flight to an island, and then I had to take this hour ferry boat ride onto an even smaller island that I was staying on. And then on the smaller island, I had to take this other little tiny boat to get to the part of the island I had to get on. And then I walked into the wrong bungalow, so to speak. And I remember because I was supposed to have my own personal bungalow, and I went up and I went to go book it, and I had to go up into this dorm room. Went up into the dorm room. I was like, I just felt super lonely. I was just like, man, what did I do? And then I remember putting all my stuff on my bed. I lifted up the pillow, and the biggest spider of my life was underneath this pillow.
Burn it down.
I was like, what is happening right now? And I was just like feeling sorry for myself. And finally I was just like, I talked to the coordinator of it, found the actual bungalow place I had to be at, switched locations, moved all my stuff into this bungalow. And then I was just like feeling sorry for myself because I felt like so lonely. And finally I was like, put on your big girl panties, go out and just enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I went and hung out in this hammock for a while. But yeah, I was there for 5 weeks, and it was like the best decision of my life. Like I really didn't want to leave. The first week was like the hardest week ever because this yoga training that I did is probably one of the most intense ones that you can do. It's called Ashtanga, and it's like the first form. Like any branch of yoga comes from this one branch of yoga called Ashtanga. Yeah, and it is a set series, and there's 4 series to it, and like they teach you the primary series, and you have to learn how to teach it back. But it's a set series, and it's like 2 hours long, and you're doing it 2 times a day. My body was wrecked. I was like, I was not expecting this at all. I was like, yeah. But yeah, I was there for 5 weeks, and it was great. I almost didn't come back.
That's insane. So, what is your biggest, I guess, and this is, as I'm finding this out, like talking to more and more people who are coaches and who do CrossFit, there's a very common theme in their lives. And it seems to me like it's highly adaptable and very Like you don't, like you said, you like felt sorry for yourself and you were like, come on, you're fine. I think that those are like two things that like you spring back from something like adversity very fast. Would you say that like everything, like, we were both servers and bartenders and whatever, and doing tattoos and working in like hair salons is kind of the same thing, like service industry. Would you say that like all of that kind of set you up to handle like the position that you're in now at the gym?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially I say this all of the time jokingly, but I'm not really joking about it. I feel like I feel like it should be mandatory for everybody to do at least 1 year in hospitality and 1 year in retail, because I feel like the world would be a better place if everyone had worked those positions for 1 year each. Just because like it does, especially serving, I feel like teaches you, even when like someone is like nasty to you, like how to like still stay calm, keep your composure, and deal with it. Not that I feel like we have that issue in CrossFit, because I mean, in CrossFit you're around so many like-minded people,
right?
Like I think it was in even one of the, which one was it? I think it was in the Redeemed and the Dominant documentary, where I think not Rory, but Mike Sherwood said something of the sort. No, I can't remember the guy that said it, but he even said something along the lines of like, we're around so many like-minded people because it is hard, and like it takes a certain type of person to like persevere through all that. And normally the people that like the Eeyores of the type of the world they don't last long. They'll be out of it pretty fast. But yeah, doing those things definitely, I feel like, has helped me in the long run. And what I'm doing now, like, you learn to brush things off very quickly and just move on to the next task. Basically, you're like, because if you're going to just sit and think about that too long and, doing the feel sorry for yourself thing, you're not going to get anywhere that you need to be. You need to be able to brush it off, and it is what it is. You acknowledge it and then you move on, basically.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, Amy and I even talked a little bit about the what's in your control.
Yeah.
Like not letting the things completely outside of your control destroy you or ruin your day.
Yeah.
And focusing on what you can actually do and control and contribute and move on from that.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that you actually have control over is how you react to the situation.
Right.
And I was talking to a friend about that the other day, especially with this like COVID stuff going on. Like, it's aggravating not being able to do certain things. And maybe I feel like I've been like overly optimistic about everything that's been going on, but that's my way of dealing with it. And it's because it's like, yeah, this sucks, and I can sit here and just whine and complain about it all the time, but like, you can only control how you react to a certain situation.
Right.
And like, what's the point of being pissy all the time and then you're just in a bad mood? What are you in a bad mood about? It's like, move on, make the best out of it. Like, I have been making the best out of it by riding my bike all the time now. I've been riding my bike more now than ever. And it's so nice to just kind of like get out of the house, ride around, and like, that's my way of reacting to it. And it puts me in a better mood. Like, why sit at home and just like sulk and feel sorry for myself? Which is a very easy thing to do. And then that just like takes you down a rabbit hole. There's no point of like sulking. Like, of course you can have your days where you're sad or whatever, but then you pick it up and be like, all right, let's do something that's going to brighten my day up a little bit.
Right. So backing up again to kind of the yoga trip and the certification and coming back, and we had a plan to implement yoga, but even with that, you were still kind of teetering in and out of, not teetering in and out, but you were kind of on different entrepreneurial paths.
Yeah.
And obviously you're pretty creative with being a hairstylist and also getting into tattooing, but kind of cover some of that stuff because you were kind of still active in that.
Yeah. Yeah, Tony actually
in
got
and out
me
of
my job.
But with tattooing, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Tony actually got me my job with tattooing. It's something that, it's weird. It's something I always thought I wanted. Like, I remember even from the age of 12, I told people I was going to become a tattoo artist. So I think it's so weird, like I had mentioned way before, that like friends and family definitely never would have thought that I would have ended up in the fitness industry, like myself included. I always wanted to do hair. Like I almost went to school for special effects makeup. I was always, and like I did photography on the side. I work with my old photography teacher from high school, and I used to do weddings with him. So I mean, like I was always, you know, doing something creative. And when I had quit the salon, I was actually looking for a salon job. And then obviously that's when I had met Tony, started CrossFit, and he was working at Tattoo Lula with Mike, who builds all of the rigs. It's all comes full circle, basically.
Yeah.
Burg is, I feel like, the centerpiece, and everything comes full circle. And I had gone through an apprenticeship before, but Tony can attest for this for me. A lot of tattoo artists are slime balls, I guess.
Not very professional individuals.
Yeah, so that's the
not all.
Not all of
okay.
them. not all of them, but a lot of tattoo artists aren't known for their morale and being the nicest of people, I guess. There are a lot of slime bags out there. That's my nice way of putting this. And so I had started an apprenticeship when I was 18 originally. And let me just say, the dude was a slime ball, so I quit. He
Enough
expected,
said.
yeah, he expected certain things out of me because I was his apprentice and I wasn't going to put up with it. So I left. So then that's when I went into the hair business. When I quit, I was looking for a salon job. I was talking to Tony, and this is when I was already working out at Burg, and he had actually helped me get an apprenticeship with Mike. So I was at the tattoo shop for a few years there, and I was there for a couple years. I love Mike. I love the tattoo shop. I really enjoyed tattooing, but tattooing is like a very cutthroat type of business. And in a sense, I don't know if this is the right way to put it. You have to be obviously you have to be confident, but you have to be kind of cocky about your own work. And I just like wasn't that type of person. Like I remember once again talking to Tony before I left, I was just like, it's like this self-crippling self-doubt every step of the way, basically. So it ended up giving me more anxiety than enjoyment at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not worth it. You know, like it's just way too much on me and my mental health. Whereas I could just like paint and draw whatever I want when I want. Tattooing is like serious. Like you need to know, like, obviously you need to know what you're doing, but like that's permanent. That's going on someone's body, you know? Not saying that I didn't have the skill set to do it. But when you have that nagging self-doubt all the time, it's
gets in your head a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like, I tattooed for a while, obviously, and can attest to that. I remember tattooing people and being so nervous.
Oh,
and the
yeah.
person's not nervous. They're not nervous.
Yeah, they have no idea.
You are nervous.
Yeah.
You know, tattooing friends and everything. And then as soon as you like, you're your harshest critic, you do like a little something. See, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. You start sweating bullets, and then they don't know, but you're
They
like,
have no-
I mean, some people do realize after the fact, like, yeah, that's one really good tattoo. But when you're giving your friends free tattoos because you need to practice, and they're like, hell yeah, tattoo whatever you want on me. You're like, all right, well, let's do it. And I think that's more or less kind of the route. Not that you were doing 100% for free, but it's still that goes on because you.
I would think you would be like, I would think that, you know, you go to start, and in your mind, you're like, is this going to be the one that I completely ruin? Or is this going to be the one that I like F up totally bad?
And like, I know Tony's the same way when it comes to like his artwork, but like even my drawings and paintings, like I become too nitpicky about my own work.
Yeah.
You know? And like, at least when it's on canvas, on paper, whatever, you can fix it, not a problem. But like when that's someone's skin, like you'll see like the littlest little thing no one would notice, but you notice. And that's what matters. You're like, oh man, like they'll walk away, even though it's like something not even a big deal. Like say you wish it like turned out to be a different color. I don't know.
Yeah.
and like they walk away so happy, and like that's still sitting in the back of your head. You're like, I could have done better.
It like kind of ruined your confidence for a little while, maybe, you know?
And like it was kind of aggravating because like, I mean, I was still in my apprenticeship, so to speak, but I had done it for a couple of years. But yeah, it just turned into more like crippling self-doubt than anything. And then I had fallen so in love with being at Burg. I just wanted to be at Burg more.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Tony, like I went and got my L1, and like a big group of us, it was a lot of fun. We went and got our L1, and we went through our internship through Burg, and I was still doing yoga the 3 days a week because I had then finally quit the tattoo shop. We started doing 3 days a week. I went to Thailand and came back, and we like ramped it up again. And then I went through my internship for coaching, and that was like kind of on the back burner for a little bit. But yeah, like it's weird. Like I never knew, because like I always thought I wanted to do hair or tattooing like my whole entire life. And it's weird going through these changes like as you get older and like realizing what you do want. It's just like weird to think, because like you finally get into something that you think that you wanted so bad, and then you realize that it's not your passion. So then like there was a lot of highs and lows there as well, because I was like, shit, like what am I gonna do? Like I thought this is what I always wanted, and now that I have it, like I'm not as in love with it as I thought I would be.
Yeah.
And then like that's incoming Burg. Like I started teaching yoga, which I think I mentioned before is really weird that I did get into this, because I remember the very first couple of yoga classes that I taught, I had mad anxiety. And then I had to remind myself, I'm like, they don't know what I know. You
Right.
know? Like it's like they're just as new to this as I am, but luckily, like, you know, I actually do know a lot more about yoga than I think I do.
Right.
Types of things. And it comes back to that self-doubt. So then when I started teaching, I started growing that confidence, and it's crazy, like just because I put myself in that uncomfortable position, it allowed me to grow, you know, and just getting used to being uncomfortable. And I learned that from my brother. My brother has the same problem of like anxiety of talking to people. And I remember when he was like 18, he went and got a job as a car salesman to force himself into it, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, like so it forced him into like that very uncomfortable position, but now like he's very successful. I mean, like he's in IT now, but it's just crazy like what you have to make yourself do to be able to grow.
Right.
You know, it's like there's so many people sitting on the sidelines like, oh wow, well I wish I could do that, but it's like you can do that.
Yeah.
You just have to embrace the suck and embrace the fact that, you know, you're not going to be great at it at first. Like no one's great at it at first. That's why there's that what's it called? Like the 10,000 rule before you even like master something.
Right.
Like you have to put in your 10,000 hours basically to like master something.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of misconception about what comes easy to someone and what doesn't come easy to someone else. And it's easy to sit on the sidelines, like you just said, and say, oh man, I wish I could go to Thailand. How did you, it's like, there's people who do things and people who will always be that person who says, oh, it's just easy for her because look at her, she's already fit, or, you know, oh, of course she'd be good at CrossFit because she does yoga, or of course she's flexible because, and it's like, well, no, they don't see the hard work and the vulnerability and the anxiety you had and the self-doubt that you had to sit in those feelings for so long and be so uncomfortable. And then you went through all that and now you are where you are. That those things that you went through are easily looked over by people who are like, oh, that must be so easy for you. And like, you know, oh, you're a head coach now. Of course you are. You know, it's like, there's a lot of hard work that comes behind those milestones that you did, and like working at Taco Bell. And there's so many things that you've done that people were either their ego is in the way, or they just didn't want to do it because they felt like, you know, well, I can never travel like that, or I can't take that too much time off, or those things where that was hard for you, you know, like that was probably expensive and very risky and terrifying, like terrifying. You were going to another country and had to take 7,000 boats to get to where you were going. So, you know, and it's like, I think like, and again, back to that common theme of like, it's just as terrifying and hard and as, you know, being a successful person as it is if you're sitting there not doing anything. It's just making that decision to sit in that vulnerability and being uncomfortable and letting that kind of take you where you need to go. Because, you know, you said you wanted to be a tattoo artist. That wasn't what you wanted. You had that mind change there. So it was like, okay, well, what do I do now? You know, so then that turned your life and pivoted you in the way to where, you know, you're doing what you're doing now, which is super cool.
Exactly. And like a lot of people just expect things to fall into their lap. It's so funny because like I feel like I've made so many decisions that like were just like kind of out of the blue, very impulsive. Like the going to Thailand thing was actually very impulsive, but I didn't think twice about it. It just felt right. And it's so weird because like when I did it, people were like, oh my God, that's like so brave of you to go do that by yourself. And like I honestly didn't even think twice about it. I'm like, really? I don't know. I'm just going to Thailand. It sounds pretty fucking cool to me. Everyone's like, oh my God, that's so brave of you and to go do that by yourself. And I didn't even really think about it until like I got there by myself. It was my first trip. Like I had done international trips before, but doing it by yourself, especially when you're a woman, is like a whole different ball game. You know, it's like you don't think about it until you are by yourself and you're like constantly like looking over your shoulder or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy because like I had so much cool feedback from people when I did do it. They're like, "Oh, that's so amazing! Like, I wish I could do that." I'm like, "Well, you can. Like, you have to make it your priority. Like you can literally do anything if you prioritize it." It's man.
I can definitely attest to Nikki's growth since we've known each other for so long to see like the evolution. I always knew her as somebody that was just she kept herself pretty damn busy, and her partner at the time was always like, yeah, she's like, I'm out of town all the time, and she does her thing. And to see the growth, you know, we've had conversations about how she's grown as a person through these years, from starting it up and getting into tattooing, you know, taking that leap to then going into the fitness world and doing yoga and being able to teach those classes. I didn't give her any instruction. I don't know. I'm not the yoga instructor. Okay. Maybe Tony Corona can do some yoga, but I sure can't do yoga. But anyway.
Oh my God, we need to have a Tony Corona yoga class.
She's grown in that confidence. I think it's fair to say that, you know, we've also had discussions, Nikki, talking about, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but like you were not a confident person.
Not at all.
And you kind of talked about that as your childhood and everything, but I hope that, you know, this podcast, what we've been talking about, just showing that if you just take some action in something that makes you uncomfortable, that you have interest in, that first shockwave it's scary, right? No matter what. I think that's for anybody, more so for some than others, but that initial shockwave is short-lived. And then from that, you're like, you're confident, you're enjoying it, you look forward to it. And I think CrossFit's the same thing. Getting back onto like kind of a relatable topic is when people first come in the gym, I think everyone can relate to that first time being super nervous.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
You're seeing these fit people, like, you know, throwing weight around, the music's loud and the shirts are off and all this stuff. And
it's like just even figuring out like which barbell. Like I remember when I first started CrossFit and I was standing there looking at the barbells and I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God, which one's the girls? Which one's the girls? Which one's the girls? I'm going to grab the wrong one. I know I am. And I'm just like standing there, just like waiting for somebody to tell you like which bar to grab, you know, like yes, 100%.
See, luckily I didn't have that issue. We only had men's bars in
the beginning. Yeah, you know, trying to make people the you know, equal rights here. Okay, so that's.
Oh my God.
Anyway, you know, you coming into CrossFit, starting, you know, you started coaching, and I think back in the day, a few years ago, there was not a whole lot of structure with everything. We were figuring things out, kind of like the COVID right now. We're figuring things out.
Figure it out as you go.
But we were doing things progressively passively to like, all right, well, let's do this. This makes sense.
Yeah.
And so you started coaching, and I know that as you got into coaching, you continued building that confidence, and you're able to take so much critique and evolve from that. But even prior to that, when you were kind of getting into classes and stuff, you kind of showed that growth, and you started to get heavily into kind of like Olympic lifting.
Oh yeah.
Right. So
fell in love with it.
I don't know how many people, I mean, most everybody knows you like to lift, but you made some serious leaps in Olympic lifting. So kind of tell us about that, I guess. What's your favorite movements in CrossFit? Why are they? And
I feel like everyone knows by now the snatch is my favorite movement. And I don't know what it is about the barbell, but like I remember even at the old location, I went back through old Instagram videos, which is scary to think, like looking back at those first couple of videos. But yeah, I really don't know what set it off, but I remember we were doing some sort of clean. I think it was like a complex of deadlift, hang clean, deadlift and 2 hang cleans, I think it was. And I just remember like being frustrated with not being able to move well with the barbell. And I don't know what exactly it was, but I wanted to conquer that barbell. And I fell in love with, because like I knew snatch was like one of those more complex movements. And I remember the very first time I went back and saw this, I hit 100-pound snatch, and I thought it was like the craziest thing.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was like the craziest thing. It was at the old location actually, and yeah, there was something about those barbell movements that like I absolutely just fell in love with, and I just went into the Olympic weightlifting world and solely like worked on that. Like that's what I wanted to get stronger at. And I feel like when you can conquer those movements, because especially the snatch, it's the most complex, I feel like, of the movements, because there's so much that's involved between like strength and mobility and stability. There's so many things involved in the snatch that you need to have, basically. But like I strictly just went onto that and was doing a lot of Olympic weightlifting cycles, I think for like 2 years straight. I feel like snatch is probably definitely my favorite movement, next to, oh man, I don't know if I can really choose between the two. Like snatch probably definitely my favorite, but clean and jerks definitely a strong second. But it's just
I would have to say handstand walks.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought we were talking about barbell movements.
I know.
If we're talking about movements, everyone knows handstands. I probably annoy you guys all the time, even when I'm traveling. Hashtag handstands all over this bitch.
Well, that's how else are people going to know you CrossFit? Duh.
I know.
Of course. But I remember like when you first started doing handstands, like you and I both, we couldn't do anything handstand wise.
No, nothing.
So it's just like the reality of going back to what Amy was talking about, like that taking that adversity and taking that first step. That's what everybody's done.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of the moral of the story of what you've been telling us. Like you've just been taking steps to figure out what is your favorite thing, what is your niche, and taking that on is what's made you who you are now, right?
Yeah, because I mean, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You fail. Whatever. Like, all that really is like a scratch to your ego, and like you can't learn or you can't grow without failing, basically. And I know like that was like the hardest part for me to realize, and I feel like that's the hardest part for most people to realize, because failing is scary. I mean, like, like you've built a business from the ground up, and there's been lots of highs and lots of lows, but that's what you do. Like you took that leap of faith, and like there's been a lot of downs along the way, but that's how you learn, so it's just one of those things where it's like you've got to learn to fail and just push past that. Like think about how many times like we were learning how to do handstand walks and like you just fall flat on your back. Like you're learning how to fall out of it, and like it's just like you're only going to get better by doing it more, and like that's I feel like that's what I try and tell our members all the time when they're like, oh man, I can't get this. And I was like, you have to come in here and do it every single day. Like, I don't
Mhm.
care if you fail every single one of your attempts, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you're coming in here and you're staying consistent with it, like, I can't even tell you. I remember the first time I got my ring muscle up, like, it was one of those things where I was so used to failing it just over and over and over again. By the time I got it and I caught it, I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, because like you're so used to failing, and then finally you catch yourself, and like I'm sitting at the top of these rings in that ring dip, and I was like, wait, I actually have to press out now. Like I've never been in this situation before. Like I don't know what to do now. Like I forgot all mechanics.
That happens, but it's cool.
Yeah.
I guess I was just gonna kind of go into a very random question. Is tell us about your hair color.
I was actually looking at your hair and I was like, I want to ask her how I can do the bottoms of my hair like that too without going bald. But will be another conversation.
What's funny about my hair color right now is that it's just super faded. So which works out because like I had it red because I went to the Super Bowl. Chiefs, baby, let's go. Everyone knows I'm a hardcore Chiefs fan, and so
the Kansas City, Kansas Chiefs, right?
So like I remember we started going on this winning streak, so I kept my hair red because superstition is real and you have to go along with it. So my hair was red, and honestly I've just been too lazy to do anything because now things have been so crazy, and I've been working on the house and it was red, and this is literally it's like a rose color. It literally
it's so funny like now that we have Zoom classes, like I'll always ask people, because all the coaches are now coaching everyone, which is awesome because they've all heard me talk about everybody from Florida and they never know who you guys are. So I'll be like, oh, who did, the 3:30. I'm like, oh, who was your coach? And they're like, oh, it's a girl. She had like pink hair. I'm like, say no more. I was Nikki.
And it's funny.
I'm like, that's Nikki.
Everyone now thinks I colored my hair like this for Easter. And I'm like, no, I'm just really lazy and I haven't touched up my hair yet. It's just a really faded red.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like the only, I was just thinking now, like we're the only two, not to make it like female power, but like we're the only two ladies.
We are.
Coaches.
The two.
Well, that whole conclusion though that
and the most
Jeff
foul
and Nikki
mouth.
are the same.
Oh my
same people.
God.
Okay, so
I'm so offended by this. So the other day, Tony,
I don't know about that.
How we got on this subject, and Tony was like, we're talking about personality types. And I can't remember what he said about Ray. And then he said something about Jeff. And he's like, Jeff and Nikki are like the same person. Nikki's like a girl version of Jeff.
It only had to do with coaching styles. It didn't have to do with personality types. But at that point, we just said you guys are the same.
Yeah, that's what it was. So it stemmed from coaching styles. And me and Jeff are very similar. We're just loud people. It is what it is. But we try to have fun with our members. But then it turned into I am now the female version of Jeff, and I was very offended by this.
Jeff is loving it, by the way.
Oh my God. Is he in the room right now?
No.
Oh.
No, he has to stay outside.
You'd hear him if we were.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
But yeah, awesome. That's true. We are like the two female head coaches and probably the most foul-mouthed ones as well.
A little bit of profanity goes a long way, in my opinion. That's one thing I will say about Tony to give him some, so boost his ego a little bit, is he's definitely not afraid of putting females in leadership, which is really cool. So he's fostering the young women of America. What'd you say?
He's like, I thought you were a dude at first.
You thought I was a dude?
That's a joke.
Look at, I wish you guys can see this, and people up in Sunbury know this is my favorite. I call these the wife hands. Very common with men when they go like this. And I'm like, don't you give me the wife hands. And they're like this.
Put your hands up.
That's what you just said. Oh, whoa.
Hey, I didn't want to get bit.
Listen.
Anyway. Well,
that's me, guys.
yeah. In closing, that's Nikita. That's her nickname, by the way. So you
Yeah,
call her
Nikita.
Yeah, her fun fact is she loves styrofoam, so you can squeak that and send her messages.
I'm so upset that you even brought that up.
You need to ask her what you asked me is what's something that someone doesn't know about you?
So yeah, there you go. What is something that no one knows about you? You get 30 seconds for you to answer.
Oh man, I literally don't know.
Oh, I know one.
What?
You're really good at fantasy football.
Oh yeah. There we go. We can talk about that. But I mean, I feel like the guys in the fantasy chat could tell you all about that. I am the only here. I don't know if this is appropriate, but I'll say it anyways. So our gym has 2 fantasy leagues, and the one I'm in is the OG one. We call it the A League, even though the B
better
league
one.
the B League gets very upset that we call them the B League because they think they are.
Just get better then. Sorry.
Exactly. So we were the OG league, and I was the only female. Started at the old location. Some of you will appreciate this because I am the only girl in this league, and it is a gym league. So my team name is Clean and Jerk It Yourself.
Dirty Nikita. That's all I can say.
It's not dirty. It's funny.
Than all the guys.
I really do. I have scared a lot of the guys in our fantasy chat to where the whole chat has gone quiet. I'm probably the
As you should.
one. Yeah, I mean, you just got to assert your dominance, right?
That's right.
And on that note, I'm about to piss my pants, so I gotta go.
All right, guys. Thanks for
listening.
Listen to me talk for like.
We'll see you next. We'll see you next episode for another thrilling adventure on one of our coaches' lives.
Boom.
Don't get the corona, guys. Stay inside. Beep, 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 beep.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode on The Boom Show, produced for the team at Burg CrossFit. Whether you're local to one of our locations or just love what we do, we would love to invite you to check out our in-house and digital offerings over on our website at www.burgcrossfit.com. If you feel stuck on a particular movement or have no idea what the heck a jerk is, definitely check us out on our movement library over on our YouTube channels, found at each one of our corresponding locations at Burg CrossFit, Burg CrossFit North, or Burg CrossFit Sunbury. And we'll see you next time.